What is up, everyone? Sergeant Arger right here. And I'm actually at school right now. But I still have some time. I have about 25 minutes. But, yeah, I just thought I'd make a video. Just because I don't want to do it later. Better to do it early and get it. And I'm using the school Wi-Fi, so some of the videos are blocked. But that's okay. I know how to get past it. But yeah. Without further ado, let's get started. Caesar's Civil War, Part 2, Battle of Pharsalus. Sound on?
July 9th to July 10th, 48 BCE. Julius Caesar.
Oh, that's weird. This isn't by HistoryMarche, but it's in the same HistoryMarche playlist. That's weird. Anyways.
Is retreating. It is something that he rarely did during his illustrious career. His plan to trap the Pompeians close to Dyrrhachium backfired spectacularly. And now, his options were running out.
Oh yeah, that's the person that they said was in the thing, and that's them. So in the last episode at the very beginning in the title.
And there. And it was around the same time that the Pompeians managed to catch half of Caesar's fleet at Messana, Sicily, and burn every single ship.
Oh my god.
Back in Epirus, Caesar was attempting a rapid retreat during the night. At dawn the next day, he had almost finished the crossing of the river Ginnesus when his rear guard clashed with the Pompeians, who were hot on their heels. The Caesarians fought bravely and managed to give Caesar enough time in order to finish the crossing. Once more, the two armies faced each other across the same river, occupying the same old camps from months before. But Caesar did not intend on staying. He conducted a speedy retreat and managed to slip from Pompey's grasp, marching towards Apollonia, in which he left a small garrison. His plan was to force Pompey to march inland, away from his all-conquering fleet and his supply bases, and to unite with the remaining forces of Domitius Calvinus, who was facing off Pompey's reinforcements, commanded by Scipio.
Scipio, what? That's like, wow. There was the Scipio brothers from earlier in the Punic Wars, so I guess it's a popular last name or something? I don't know, or maybe it passed down still.
Pompey and Caesar were simultaneously marching against time. Caesar took a southern road
And because, oh, never mind.
up the valley of the River Aus, and Pompey took his familiar main Roman road of Via Egnatia, with quite opposite objectives from each other. Caesar
Dang, look how mountainy it is, seriously.
was trying to link up with his general, while Pompey was attempting to surprise and annihilate him via a series of forced marches. By a stroke of luck, and just 4 hours before Pompey could trap him, Calvinus was informed of his arrival and immediately made a U-turn towards the south, barely escaping the Pompeian iron grip.
Going fast.
Caesar and Calvinus united their armies near the city of Aeginium. The plain of Thessaly, with its fertile fields, lay before them. Caesar's main strategic goal was clear: capture the nearby cities and incorporate them into his supply lines. Marching southwards, the first city his legions encountered was Gomphi. The inhabitants of the city were encouraged by overinflated rumors of his defeat at Dyrrhachium to share Pompey's victory rather than be a part of Caesar's misfortunes, as he himself put it in his commentaries. This defiance could not remain unpunished, and Caesar decided to make an example of the city by unleashing his veterans, who ransacked it.
No!
It was a practice that proved to be quite an effective incentive for the locals to collaborate, since, after that, almost all of Thessaly decided to side with Caesar.
Oh wow. I guess that was...
The next city in his way, Metropolis, surrendered to Caesar with a little encouragement by some captives from Gomphi.
Huh.
The Caesarian legions advanced further towards Thessaly,
Where'd the music go?
reaching the river Enepius near the city of Pharsalus. Meanwhile, Pompey, who advanced from Via Egnatia, made a right turn and headed southwards to the city of Larissa, in which the two legions commanded by Scipio were stationed. The Pompeian contingents united near the city and marched toward the plain of Pharsalus.
Oh goodness.
When the army reached the hills overlooking the plain of Pharsalus, Pompey immediately understood that any further advance was pointless, since Caesar's army was blocking the road. The monumental
Oh goodness.
clash of the two generals was imminent. It was a battle that would eventually decide the future of a whole empire and the course of Western civilization for the next centuries.
Oh my God.
While Caesar was already encamped in a convenient position near the bridge controlling the passage to the city of Pharsalus, Pompey marched his army on a slope at the north end of the plain, from which he could overlook the Caesarian positions, and upon which his legions were favorably placed in a strong defensive position. Caesar was running out of time. His supply situation was precarious, and his reputation had suffered a critical blow after the unfortunate conclusion of the Battle of Dyrrhachium. He still needed to...
Last episode, I believe, so... And by the way, sometimes there's people that watch the second episode, or like later episodes, and not the first episode of my videos. So, if you haven't watched the first episode right now, I suggest you stop watching this and go watch that, and then come back, so you can get the full context.
to force a swift conclusion to the hostilities, and his trust in his veterans did not budge at all, even after the debacle at Dyrrhachium. And he also had one distinctive and unique advantage in comparison to his enemy. While Pompey's word and command was in no way absolute and undisputed, since he was just first among equals with temporary and limited authority over the Republic's aristocrats, who were always trying to mingle and intervene with his command, Caesar's word and authority over his army and his generals was absolute, undisputed, and complete. Caesar would attempt to force a...
It's not always a good thing, though, because if it is disputed, it sort of acts as like a filter. Because if you come out with this really bad idea and people dispute it, then, it's a good thing. So, I mean, I guess it's good for decisiveness, but it's not always an advantage.
Battle every day, marching out of his camp and arranging his legions in an aggressive manner, hoping that he would convince his enemy to leave his defensive position and face him in a single, decisive engagement. But Pompey, not willing to abandon the safety of his hills, would draw out his army, but just at the end of the slope bordering the northern part of the plain. The great rogue general demonstrated his elaborate thinking into his own account of the battle, proving that each move that he made was totally deliberate, and nothing was left to chance. By daily marching his legions closer and closer to Pompey's camp, he slowly boosted the morale of his men and made them accustomed to this kind of battle. He specifically knew that if he was to succeed in a potential clash with the Republican forces, his men would have to face the by many degrees numerically superior cavalry of the Pompeians. So, he intermixed his own cavalry, a selected group of the youngest and most active men of the vanguard, and instilled them, by his daily practice, with a lack of fear and a contempt for Pompey's numerical superiority. After many days of this military ballet, Caesar gave up hope, and he did not believe that Pompey was willing to risk everything in a single battle against his hardened veterans. Nonetheless, against his better judgment...
Right, so that was the battle that determined the fate of Western civilization, really?
And at the exact day that he had intended to break camp and march out, something unexpected happened. On the morning of August 9th, or 7th of June by the modern calendar, Pompey's arrangement shifted from its usual alignment and advanced further than usual from his entrenchments. Caesar, after no long deliberation, understood that the time had come. He immediately addressed himself to his soldiers when they were at the gates of the camp ready to march out. We must defer our march at present and set our thoughts on battle, which has been our constant wish. Let us meet the foe with resolute souls. We shall not hereafter easily find such an opportunity. On the other side of the field, Pompey was confident that his all-conquering and massive cavalry force would be
Yeah, they look like they outnumber the Romans by a ton.
the key for victory.
Persuaded our cavalry, and they have engaged executed. As soon as the two armies have met, to attack Caesar's right wing on the flank and enclosing their army on the rear. It's like blocking some of it. So throw them into disorder and put them on the rear and show them the weapon. Then we shall throw a weapon against the enemy.
The two armies treaded towards each other in a machine-like manner. Pompey's army was composed of 47,000 legions,
Gosh, they look like they're in a horrible position.
or 110 cohorts at their full strength. Some auxiliaries, and a few cohorts remained to guard his camp. His cavalry was commanded by a Caesarian former officer who defected to the Pompeian side,
Why?
Titus
Why did that
Labienus. His left wing was commanded by him personally. There he placed two legions that were delivered over by Caesar at the beginning of his disputes with the Senate in compliance with one of their decrees. Scipio with the Syrian legions commanded the center,
I wish it would have explained why the officers defected.
and his right wing was commanded by Afranius. There, Pompey placed what he deemed as his most trusted legions. That would include the Sicilian legion, in conjunction with some cohorts that he managed to salvage from Spain. Caesar's order of battle was the following. On his left wing, he placed the 9th and 8th Legion, even though the 9th was so weakened by the Battle of Dyrrhachium that he placed the 8th Legion pretty close to the 9th, as to almost make one of the two, and he gave the command to Antonius. The center was under the command of Calvinus, and the right wing was under the direct command of Sulla. Caesar himself was positioned just behind the right wing, opposite to his rival, and close to his
That's a very interesting little flag, or banner, whatever it is.
best and most reliable legion, the 10th.
Oh my gosh, school starts in 10 minutes. I need to hurry.
His small cavalry force, together with all of his slingers and light troops, were placed opposite to Pompey's cavalry. And at the last moment, Caesar drew a single cohort from every legion in his third line and made a concealed fourth line with a task to stab the cavalrymen of Pompey with their pillar once they broke through. He knew the outcome of the battle.
Sounds similar to Hannibal's strategy at the Battle of Cannae. Whenever the enemy broke through and those Libyan troops or whatever just came in and crushed them. If you haven't watched that Punic Wars series by HistoryMarche that I reacted to, make sure you react to that.
Would be decided here.
I mean, make sure you watch that, not react to that.
In total, 80 cohorts made up 9 legions, or 22,000 men, arranged in the typical triplex axis, Roman formation of the period. A couple of cohorts were left behind to guard their camp. Moments after Caesar gave the signal to charge, a centurion of renowned bravery from his
Oh yes, leg. What does the leg mean?
elite 10th Legion, named Crastinus, saluted him and said, "General, I will act in such a manner today that you will feel grateful to me, living or dead." And with such high spirits, Caesar's outnumbered veterans charged against Pompey's numerically superior, but mostly inexperienced recruits. But the Pompeians would not move, and decided to stand their ground and receive Caesar's charge with their lines unbroken. The Caesarian veterans were accustomed to this, and being practiced in former battles, they halted almost midway, redressed their ranks, and renewed the charge. They threw their pila and instantly drew their swords, clashing against the Pompeian line. At the same time, Pompey's cavalry began its charge. Almost 7,000 horses, followed by archers and slingers, were moving as a single block against the massively outnumbered Caesarian cavalry. The Caesarians did not withstand their charge, but expectedly gave ground a little. At that moment, Julius Caesar gave the signal to his fourth hidden line, and they charged, holding their pila high and stabbing the Pompeians into their faces. In Caesar's words, they rushed with such fury that not a man of them stood, but all wheeling about, not only quitted their post, but galloped forward to seek a refuge in the highest mountains. By their retreat, the archers and slingers, being left destitute and defenseless, were all cut to pieces. It was the turning point of the battle.
Oh gosh.
Pompey's plan had completely backfired.
Yes, it actually worked.
And his hammer was now being chased off the field. The victorious fourth line wheeled about upon Pompey's unprotected left wing while it was still engaged. And it was now that Caesar gave the order to his third line to advance. The Pompeians fought bravely, but without the support of their cavalry, being pushed from the front and attacked from their flank and rear. And with the arrival of Caesar's fresh third line, they broke and began to flee for their lives. It was really like rolling a carpet after that, with the Republican left flank being the first to break, and the rest followed. Pompey would not stay to share the fate of his legionaries, and he fled towards the camp. He gave orders to some cohorts and auxiliaries to protect the ramparts, and withdrew to his tent, waiting for the outcome of the battle. The victorious Caesarians pushed on towards the camp and made short work of the defenders who could not withstand the multitude of projectiles that were thrown against them.
Oh my gosh. That must be just imagine how horrifying that is. To have like thousands of projectiles thrown at you from like people outside.
And the survivors abandoned any further effort to protect the camp and fled to the nearby hills, leaving the victorious Caesarians to occupy it.
What?
When Pompey heard that Caesar's troops were able to force the gates, he is supposed to have exclaimed, "What? Into the very camp?" It was a total victory for Julius Caesar. The magnitude of his triumph would only become obvious
I thought they were gonna like capture him.
After the casualties from both sides were accounted. Pompey's army was completely devastated, with 15,000 dead and 25,000 captured.
What? 200? What? What? Holy heck! 230 versus 50? What? 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 It's almost all of their army versus 230. What? Oh my god. Oh my god. That is insane.
The Republican army was essentially wiped out.
Yeah.
While Caesar himself informs us that he only lost 230 men, amongst which there lay the valiant Crestinus, who was killed fighting bravely by a sword thrust to his mouth.
To his mouth? Jeez. That is a knee slapper, definitely. Good job, Caesar.
The remaining Republicans who fled to the nearby hills were surrounded by the Caesarians and surrendered the next day. Pompey, who had fled towards the coast, boarded a ship and sailed to Alexandria. He would be assassinated within a few months.
What? And then there's 3 more episodes still? What are they supposed to do?
While Caesar was left the absolute master of the Roman Empire.
I don't think it even is a Roman Empire yet. Until, like, a few years later. Until, like, after he dies. And then he's succeeded by someone else. Which becomes the first Roman Emperor. I mean, like his son or something, and then he becomes the first Roman Emperor. Well, thank you all for watching, everybody. That was a very interesting episode. I have to get to school. I have to actually go on Zoom in 4 minutes. So yeah, thank you all for watching and goodbye. Hello everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. But yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, then if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.